Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, hello, everybody.
Hey, Don't be shy, we're not.
Okay. Hello, my name is Diana Botsford. I'm with GateWorld.net, which some of you may be familiar with. And like you...
That sucker is loud.
Oh, I don't even need it. How do you like that? I'm a professor. Very excited to meet all of you here. I'm sure we all are at Space City. For the next 2 hours, we're going to talk about Stargate, Across the Stars.
1 hour.
1 hour with you guys. We have our first hour with the Stargate SG-1 folks, and then our second hour, we will be bringing on the Stargate Atlantis folks. So this is kind of a fun 2-hour celebration for all the fans of Stargate. All right, so some 19 years ago, a bespectacled, ridiculed Egyptologist known as Dr. Daniel Jackson, with some pretty wild theories about aliens impersonating Egyptians, he deciphered the cover stones of a little-known device known as the Stargate. 3 films, 3 live-action television series, an animated series, a comic book series, several dozen tie-in novels, and a few video games later, here we are in the Stargate franchise. And of course, I think you guys know these guys, yes? Joining us here tonight, 3 of the most memorable characters who made significant contributions to the series, each memorable, each have stuck with us here years later. We love to go back and watch their characters again and again. Let's just go through and give you a short introduction in case it's been a day or 2 since you've popped in a DVD, all right? Starting with, we met him as a young Aberdonian lad in the original Stargate film, a character who wanted nothing more than to free his people from the Goa'uld, or the Ghoul, depending on which side of the fence you come from. And yet, along the way, he was able to hold on to his sense of wonder, which is extraordinary in itself, and friendship. So, please welcome Alexis Cruz, everybody.
Thank you. Great to be here with you guys.
Next up, though he only appeared in 1 episode, this actor's memorable performance as Colonel Frank Cromwell in the episode Matter of Time not only cracked open a view into Jack O'Neill's past, but it spawned 2 highly published tie-in novels. Please welcome Marshall Teague. And last, but most certainly not least, nefarious, duplicitous, a constant thorn in the side of SG-1, he appeared in 5 episodes as Colonel Frank Simmons, a man we love to hate and who seemed to relish every moment of it. Please welcome John Lancie. Now, of course, she bridges both series. Tori Higginson will be with us later this hour and be joining us through the next hour. So we'll save our introduction for Elizabeth Weir in a little bit. But guys, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Let's start with a general question for you all. You know, they say a character is born out of the parents of a writer and the actor. So, can each of you talk a bit about what you brought to the role versus what was on the page?
You're the commanding officer.
Don't make me.
I'm sorry, you're it. Would you like me to start? I love it.
Well,
Father of your child.
To my own lack of credit, I'm not sure whether I brought that much to the role, because I just found out I was in 2 more episodes than I thought I was. It just, I guess I did an okay job, but I'm not sure if I really, spun it in a way, or whether maybe there was stuff on the page there for me to spin it in a way to create something which was bring, and maybe you have to tell me what I brought, because I'm not quite sure what I brought at this point in the game. That's being very straightforward, I'm afraid.
Marshall?
It started from the very first day of the very first episode of the series. I was working up in Canada at the time. I was called by a friend that was on the pilot, Jay Acabone, as a matter of fact. He's a very dear friend of mine. And he said, the people over here on the set are doing this show and they need some training with weapons. And he said, would you come over here since you are retired military, former deputy sheriff, and would you train people on how to use these weapons correctly? Sure. Absolutely. Can I go into space with you? Went over and met Amanda and Richard Dean and all the rest of them and became friends. Trained them while I was doing the other show. Would come over and work with them. They couldn't have been more kind. And years later, when it came down to a matter of time, and the guy that Ricky Dean had the biggest, bone against him. He really didn't like the character because we had served together. He said, if you really had to have one character on you could get in their face as far as the military, who would you have? He said, Marshall. He said, he can be that big of a butt. So we did a matter of time, and it was great. So if that's what I brought to it, I was proud to do that.
Very cool. Very cool.
I guess you could say I was the point of origin.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
We had a really wonderful script, and Roland and Dean had really tapped into the gestalt ahead of their time, because nowadays it's aliens, right? And it's a big fad, but this was almost 20 years ago, and they just clicked right into that, and they gave us these tracks to go on, and they trusted us as actors, because the script itself, as far as scripts go, was actually pretty bare. It was a lot of what you see in the film is improvised, in terms of the dialogue and the interaction, all improvised. They sort of set up the scenarios, and Roland had a very, very clear idea of what it would look like, technically and aesthetically and all of that. But him and Dean chose the actors they chose based on whatever it was that they saw in us, and just let us play on these tracks that they built, and you know, put the coal into us, and we just kept going, you know, straight ahead. So for me, and I was 19, I was fresh out of acting school. Everything was wonderful to me. Everything was new, and I was really looking to stretch my acting chops, and you know, it was mime, right? The whole physicality of it. So I was very into that, and I was into the language. The linguistics was all new. This was a real ancient Egyptian language. It hadn't been spoken in 3,000 years, and we had an Egyptologist from UCLA whose work it was to vocalize this dead language. And Eric Avari and myself and Millie and James were all very good with languages, and we just took this thing as a personal challenge, and I think part of what we brought to it was our passion for stepping into this mythology, into this new mythos that we had a sense would become a classic, but it was really, I mean, we really were just digging it out of the sand, you know, and revealing it for what it was. And that's how we felt about it. And we worked hard on the language, which brought it to life. And for the Egyptologist who was consulting for us, we, as actors, filled in that gap in his academic knowledge. They hadn't really considered the effects of bringing this academia onto its feet, you know, because we understand cadence and the breath in between words, timing, the pacing, the physicality in between words, in context when you're communicating with people. These are things that had not been considered in their academia until they worked with trained actors. And together, I think we created something profoundly special for the anthropological record. So I was really proud of bringing that to it.
Very cool.
20 years later.
Very memorable.
Thank you, sir.
John and Marshall, going back to what Marshall was talking about.
It wouldn't be Stargate if we didn't have a drink.
There you go. There you go. Is there a Stargate cocktail that I'm not aware of?
That's a secret.
Okay.
That's classified.
Classified. I have top secret clearances. I don't know. No. But John, Marshall, going back to what Marshall was bringing up a moment ago, few people had the stones in the universe of Stargate to stand up to one Jack O'Neill. And you two actually managed to do so. You didn't live to talk about it.
Well, we don't know that that's actually true because I did get dropped into a really big hole.
A very big hole, yes. Bigger than the Stargate, actually. But,
Hey, I got kicked out of the space thing.
yes, you
so
did.
Well, there you go.
Hey, my planet got blown up.
Yeah, but
They blew up my whole planet.
like,
Okay?
Alexis,
Settle down.
We all share something here.
Thanks for starting it. Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
But I'm aware that on SG-1, I think a lot of us are aware that on Stargate SG-1, especially when Richard Dean Anderson was around, you had the opportunity to ad-lib a lot. So knowing your characters, and basically living in your characters' skins, how did that inform some of your ad-libs?
Well, you really, with Richard, I mean, Richard comes in, you don't know what he's going to throw at you.
I know.
He just walks in the door in the morning. He says, "How'd you like that skating last night? And by the way, you're terrible, and this is what we're going to do, and I'm just going to say this line." And he just rolls with it. So you better be able to roll and play hockey at the same time. And we did. Did you play with him by any chance?
Yeah. Richard and I did a series before that, which was called Legend, which not that many people saw.
I did.
But we actually had a great time. I thought it was a very good.
Thank you.
I think it was a very good series. It was written by Michael Piller, who was the top writer on Star Trek, and Richard and I did an enormous amount of ad-libbing, much to Michael's chagrin, I would say. So I know that part of
Yeah.
Richard. Well, actually, he got to there was so much ad-libbing that he got to the point of going, "You're the one who's ad-libbing all the time." I'm
I
like,
blamed you too.
"Excuse me?"
In the very first season, at the end of the very first season, in the finale, there is a scene where you can see on film where Colonel O'Neill throws the script off frame on the sarcophagus. They never took it out. You can see it in the middle of the scene. They're on the ship. Chlorel is after them, and he just throws it off. We have a new addition to our panel.
That's not supposed to be.
Oh, but it is. It is. Okay, so next up, lastly, and again, by no means least, as Dr. Elizabeth Weir, she took over the SGC in the midst of an interstellar war, and with poise and aplomb, brought a measured, brilliant, and here she comes. Woo! Dr. Elizabeth Weir.
Hello, straggler.
Hello. Glad you made it.
Me too.
Glad you made it. So I had asked these guys a question, and I'll ask you the same question. They say that a character is born of a writer and the actor. So as the actor, Mom, what did you bring to your character
What did I bring to
versus
the
what the writers brought?
Oh, that's interesting. I think what I fell in love with a character how I perceived her. I think it's interesting because you don't know, when you read something, you have your immediate instinct attached to it. And so my instinct is telling me what I'm seeing is already there. And then you talk to the writers and you find out, sorry, I'm so tired. I'm realizing I'm not making a complete sentence. You find out that they actually were thinking, thank you, that's what I need. I think is that, okay, wait a minute, I'll be right there. Wow.
You like that, huh?
Oh, I'm so much smarter
It's the
now.
Stargate special.
So
There
much
it is.
smarter.
Stargate.
Yes, so all these attributes that I saw in Elizabeth Weir, I thought were written very clearly and cleanly in the script. And then you start speaking to the writers and they go, oh, we didn't see it that way. But when you came and you did the audition, we really liked how you brought that attitude. So it's interesting. For me, it's hard to define what I brought and what they brought, because I saw what I saw in her as I read it. So I thought they had created that. But what I loved about her was her heart. She ruled with a very strong intellect, but she had a very open heart and knew how to rule without an iron fist, but with an open heart.
So here's another question for all four of you now.
Yeah.
You
need
can
that
feed
drink
it to you
too now.
intravenously if you'd like. Talk and drink at the same time. Ironically enough, Stargate, the entire franchise, it's predominantly, present company accepted, it's predominantly military. It's very military focused. The Air Force, you get some Marines and whatnot. It has a massive international draw. It is adored and loved in many countries. I'm a novelist for Stargate, and I get fan fiction in quite a few languages. I have to get it translated. Why? Why would a show, a franchise that is so military focused, be so adored by so many different cultures all over the world? What's your thoughts on that?
I can answer that. In my
John?
Well, there are a lot of police states out there, so North Korea,
Not good.
Singapore.
Not good. But that's my point.
I don't know. I don't know.
As far as it being military and having been military and retired Navy, it is all about bridging the gap, and that is what we do internationally, whether it be with the military, whether it be with ambassadors or anything else. He played an ambassador of sorts, if you think about it. He bridged a gap. Military bridges a gap in one way or another. It's not always looked upon in that respect, but that is in fact what you're doing. When you take the uniform away, regardless of what character you are playing, you take the uniform away, what do you have? You have a human being with thoughts, feelings, and a heart, just like every single other person there is out there. You look them in the eye, you communicate. You take something that may have sat over here for one moment where you were afraid to go forward, and you reach out. You communicate. You close the gap. And just because they wear a uniform, just remember, it's always that human is underneath that uniform.
You're here.
I will echo that 100%, and add also, because it never presented the military in propagandist terms, with sort of in these posters and bootstraps and whatever, and just guns and what have you. Though we had technology, I think what really appealed to people is the fact that it was contemporary. So echoing what Marshall said, but also adding that because it was contemporary, you saw yourselves going through that gate. And this is something that was very different in science fiction. It's very rare in science fiction. Look at all the things that we do applaud, all these different science fiction shows. Stargate really stands out as something that is contemporary of all the science fiction that's out there. It's you going through the gate, and it's you going through the gate, and you going through the gate, and you don't know what's going to be on the other side. Are you going to come back at all? It'll take you a million light years from home. Are you going to be human when you still come back? When you go out there and you interact with these things, you are taking your humanity. It's the greatest gift that you're taking. So the whole show focused and concentrated on the idea of humanity amongst the stars. And they did it in a very different way than, say, Star Trek did, but just as effectively. It was a sort of a different angle on it. And I think that's what really appealed to people, whether you were in the military or you weren't, whether you looked at Marshall's character or you looked at mine.
And then there's Dr. Elizabeth Weir, who this was her character. It's all a big shock to discover the program.
Yeah, completely. And she also came from a world that she was very critical of the military. So she was an interesting choice to place there. I mean, I absolutely echo both of you, what you're saying about, I think why it has such international, wide-reaching arms is because of that, the contemporary aspect of this is happening right now. And we live in a world that, we're constantly wanting to know what information is being kept from us, and the conspiracy theories or the realist theories, however side of the argument you sit on. and that's exciting to go, you know, I always say it's questions that are exciting, not answers. So it's not knowing if it's true, it's having that reality that close to us.
It's a great line. Question. It's pretty much about the journey and not the destination. Absolutely. Great line. So what we're going to do now for a moment is we're going to have the actors, we have some trivia questions for you because we have some Gate World t-shirts to hand out. And they have one from each character.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Everybody turn to each other, reach out your hand, say hi. Thank you. You just bridged the gap. You just went through the gate. Thank you.
All right.
Now
so,
turn directly behind you and shake that person's
See if you
hand.
can do it again.
Go ahead, do it. Go ahead. Go directly behind
There
you.
you go. There you go. Well done. I see. We'll just turn around.
All right. I got one question for each of you. The answer's on the back. And whoever
we don't have to answer.
get first, I've got t-shirts to hand out. I got 4 t-shirts this hour, 3 more the next. And the answer's on the back, guys, so keep it closed up.
I know the answer. I studied this.
I hope so. That's the answer.
I watch our show.
Amaterasu. Canada Amaterasu. But that's the question.
Okay.
All right, so who would like to go first to ask a question? Marshall.
All right.
All right.
Which 2 characters from the original film had the spelling of their names changed for the series?
Raise your hand if you
How
think you know the
spelled?
answer. Which 2 characters? All right, in the back with the cap on. First person up. Nope.
Nope.
In fact, they weren't even in the film. Okay, gentleman here was the next one up. Yeah, stand on up. No, this guy, sorry. Nope, close.
You're close.
Here we go. Can you say her name? Huh? Charé, all right. I'm going to give a t-shirt.
Good one.
Yeah.
Well done. Can I give her the question?
Yes, you want the question?
You want
the
the
actual spelling changes are on the back if you want the
Here's the
change.
That's funny because I think even in the series, I don't think I ever call her Charé. I always called her Shouty.
Yes.
She was always
Yes,
Shouty.
you did it the same. You know, it's funny you bring that up because I
Everybody
watched
remember-
Full Circle again the other day.
You had a
just
linguist
for
there.
your death episode where you ascend.
Right.
And when you ascended, you dropped the accent, and it was very interesting because it fit being ascended.
Right, right. Yeah, it was exactly that was a very specific choice that I made to drop the accent, where sort of all of the trappings of mortality go away, and also in this character's mind by this point. Remember, being a host of of Chlorel for so long, he has gotten all of the genetic memories of the Goa'ulds. This is probably one of the most informed people in the universe at this point, accent or no accent. So by the time he was ascended, and up until then, for me, I wasn't there every single day as a regular. I came in every few weeks, every few months for a couple of weeks. So I was able to maintain my discipline with the accent, where everybody else just said, "Oh, screw it." It's television, screw it. But yeah, I was looking for a through line. I was very specifically looking at the long run, and I really map out everything that I was doing with this character for several years at a time.
Very cool. Okay, next up, next question.
You're up.
Oh, okay. So, who did Chlorel flee from when he crashed on Tolana?
Oh, we had a hand jump up so fast, it was light speed. Go for it. Huh? Nope.
That is incorrect.
Next up.
Where's the button?
Who did Chlorel flee from when he crashed on Tolana?
Here we go. Gentleman back there with the white cap. Nope. That's a little later. There we go.
Pretty sure.
Bravo!
Haruar is correct. Yes, it is. Good job.
It's good when it's tough. Earn that t-shirt.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, John.
What does NID stand for?
Not the NID in Stargate. Not important division is close, but not quite. NID, what does it stand for? Give the man a t-shirt. Very good. Okay, Madame, you get another one next hour.
Alrighty.
All right.
Name the first system lords we're ever met.
Mets.
Do. Oh, yes.
What is No, it's not that game show.
Who? No.
Wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, we know she was there.
So close. It hurts.
All right.
I know, it
And no cheating here. No pulling out your little iPhone and going on gateworld.net for the answer. No.
Gosh.
You're thinking of one of the earlier seasons. Yep. So, any takers? Season 8, opener. And this is actually when we met Tori Higginson as Dr. Weir, New Order.
In the back.
No, her words. Jim.
Wow. Wow.
And who? That's right.
Sweet.
All right.
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Thank you. The lady back here on the end. Thank you. Very cool. All right. So, we were talking about the international poll, and I'm sure you're aware of the internet poll of all of your characters. There's fan fiction galore. It's one of the top quantities of fan fiction out there as far as Stargate franchise is concerned.
Some of it is very scary.
Yeah, quite a bit. Some of the photos are a little scary too, the little love stories that they tell. For instance, if we may, flash over. I grabbed a few just for your entertainment. Here we go. I have never allowed myself to fall in love, and I truly believe it's because I'm waiting for my star. There you go.
Did you say that?
Somebody loves you out there and will never marry. Next up. Here we go. This is actually, it's hard to see, but this is Jack O'Neill and Colonel Frank Cromwell. Another lover spat at the SGC. You left me behind.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Next up. Unfortunately, you guys probably can't see this. It's Daniel and Colonel Simmons there. So, you, me, sex tape. These are all over the internet.
You remember that a lot.
And last but not least, because they love to ship her with everyone, I ship Daniel and Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you. So, all right. So you have your characters. If there was any other character on the entire SG-1 franchise that you could have been, anyone, who would you have picked?
Teague. Of course.
I had to go there.
Okay. We have to make sure Chris Judge hears that. Anyone else? No one else? Everybody's for Teague. Teague for president. Yes. Could you see him going to the Congress? Woo.
That would be that's an impossible question for me to answer. I was there from the beginning through the end.
I know.
And I had two characters.
I know. Two Daniels, two O'Neills.
Evil twin.
I don't know. So beyond that, I have no idea. I don't know.
So any of you guys, you have questions for our guests? I'm sure you do. Yes.
Last year, Christopher Judge was in Houston for Talkapalooza. He mentioned messing around with the SGA crew. Did you guys take any part in that? You still with Joe?
Messing around with the SGA crew? Oh, pranks on SG1. Forget the ad-libs. What went on behind the scenes? What went on behind the gate?
Troublemaker. I always laugh. I mean, I was on the SGA team, and we would always laugh and say we were like the brown nosers compared to the SG1 team. And every time I occasionally got to visit and work on SG1, I'd always be sort of disappointed when I had to leave. So I'm like, they have way more fun. Like, we sort of took everything very seriously. We were very worried about getting fired.
Anybody else? Questions? Yes, stand on up, give us your name, and then ask your question. Okay.
Great name.
What went into the transformation from the film to the television series for Skara, Share, and Yasuf?
Oh, in terms of the original actors.
With the original
Well,
actors.
in terms of the original actors, it was only Eric and myself. Millie Avital didn't come over. Millie Avital and Viteri were two different people. The ones who played Shari, yeah, two different people. It was only myself and Eric. Honestly, part of it was, you know, at the time, this is a while ago, and at the time there was a kind of social caste system in place as actors. Movie stars did movies, not television. Television stars did television, not commercials, etc. And up and down. So you sort of, you know, you wanted to graduate upwards, not backwards. And this was in place in the industry for a long time. Thankfully, all of those barriers are now just done away with, and it makes absolutely no difference. But at the time, it was still in place. So when the SG1 series came up, I had gotten the phone call to the day were offering me the series regular for my character, and I knew automatically that Kurt wasn't going to do it. James wasn't going to do it. I wasn't sure where Millie stood, and that left me. And so I wasn't a household name. I wasn't famous. I jumped on it, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. You know, I want to be a movie star too, but, you know, 100 million people will watch television in one night instead of going to the movie theater. So let me go and do that. So that was part of it. And then for me also, I understood being a sci-fi geek my whole life growing up, like I knew how important it was. You know, when I would watch shows going from movies to television, and if the whole cast was different, you know, there's a credibility factor there. So one, I was the only one who was going to do it, and two, I decided to just secure my place as that guy who would help, you know, cement the credibility for the franchise. Because if you guys got to see a familiar face from the film, you would take the series a little more seriously, and that would help the odds of the series being successful, you know, at least in that nascent stage, you know, for that very first season. So that's what it was from my perspective. I wanted to help the series win, and win also for myself. It was awesome.
Questions? Okay, come on up. What's your name? Duncan. Good question. Out of all of the episodes, which was your favorite? John. Hello.
I don't want to disappoint you about this, but perhaps this is the reality that you need to know, at least with most actors who come in and do a short period of work on a show, at least the ones that I know. We don't track it, okay? We don't track it. And in my case, I sometimes don't even remember it. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, wow, they have a lot of people here and they're all really interested about, you know, Stargate. And I don't want to be, you know, Mr. Poopy up here.
No, you know what the truth is that a lot of actors say that.
I also can't even come up with like, you know, rudimentary answers like, oh, well, I like the third time I appeared. I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I'm just, as you heard, surprised that I was on 5. I thought I was on 3 episodes. And I've played many characters in my life. And this one was one that didn't really kind of go bam in my head, okay? I can talk a lot about other ones, but they would have to be another panel. So,
They are tomorrow at 11:30. See you then.
So I really think you should talk to these guys who really are the show. And I'm learning stuff as they're talking. So,
Okay. Somebody tie him down and pop out the DVDs. All right. So, Marshall, favorite episode?
Here's very simple. It's really very simple. I look over to my right, and I think of people that spent from the very beginning, of Stargate. I was blessed to be a part of it in a small way. Look at leaders, pioneers, and then I look out here and I look at every one of you that know what makes it the favorite. The most important episode is the one you remember the most, and all of you, every single one of you, passionately know, and you engulfed yourself in this series and made it what it was from the very beginning to what it became. For that's my favorite episode, you.
Alexis?
ask me the question again.
See, but that's your character, man, right there. That was your character. It was very obvious on all 5 episodes that you were having fun with your friend. And you were just...
And we do.
It was funny. Absolutely. Alexis, what about you?
Awesome. Okay. I think I don't remember the name of the episode, but it was the episode where Apophis dies, where he mortally dies. His mortal dies. And that was my favorite episode. I found Peter Williams' performance just nothing short of profound. It was so organic. It was so connected. For this first time, you see the human being that Apophis had taken over. And it was shocking because we knew nothing about this person. There was no hint about this person. I mean, it was a foregone idea. And all of a sudden, as he's dying, he just comes to the surface so completely, so powerfully, begging for mercy to be released, for the peace of death. And Peter just killed it. Just ripped it. It broke my heart watching it.
Serpent Song.
Serpent Song.
Serpent Song. It's a great
Just
episode.
Brilliant performance. The performance of performances to me. And I think he deserves every respect for that performance. To me, that just made the whole thing. And it captured Stargate. It captured humanity. So yeah.
This is an SG1 panel, right? So what's
Yes.
my favorite SG1? Well, I think I'm going to be really shallow and admit to 2. They are tying. The first favorite one for me was in season 8 when this new character was introduced.
Let's talk about her for a
That's
moment.
totally
if we can.
legit.
It meant I had a paycheck,
Absolutely.
dude. So I was excited.
Absolutely. Let's talk about her for a bit because she clearly wasn't the bad guy, but she sure came in and stirred things up in a huge way before she traveled off to another galaxy. So, that must have been an interesting thing for you to be the one who basically comes in and replaces the much-loved General Hammond. Okay? Tells Jack O'Neill has just had this massive intergalactic library downloaded into his brain. Tough luck, you can't go fix it. Oh, and aliens at the gate. Pshaw, we have nothing to worry about. Okay? You were basically an interloper. So how tough of a rope was that to walk? This love show, it's in its 8th season, and in comes an interloper.
To be honest, I mean, it was, I shot that episode the same time we were shooting the pilot for Atlantis. It was a brand new job. It was a brand new world to me. I didn't know science fiction very well at the time. I wasn't very familiar with SG-1 at the time, so I was trying to go home and watch all these videos and catch up, at the same time read these scripts, at the same time feel like it's your first day at a new school and hope that they're not regretting their decision. And so there's all this stuff going on. So I was just balancing and juggling that. Like, again, it felt like, you know, it wasn't until halfway through the Atlantis first season that I started getting comfortable and understanding really the arcs and the movements of the stories and the politics. I think the first few episodes, it was just paddle, doggy paddle, and get through it. So I wasn't really aware of, and I also hadn't caught up with SG-1, so I didn't know their whole history. So I was coming in like Weir, not knowing anything, going, let's
Little method acting.
start from here.
A little method acting. Well, we actually have 2 more people joining us now. We're gonna have a little bit of a party here. Next up, we're gonna do a little jump across, courtesy of Dr. Weir, and we are gonna jump across to our next actress joining us and character. Her brilliance, compassion, and drive as Dr. Jennifer Keller made us tune in each week to find out what happens next. Please join me in welcoming Jewel Staite. And another memorable character who is indeed a crossover as well. He began his journey as a bureaucratic thorn in SG-1's side, and throughout the 2 series, we, as the audience, were privileged to watch Richard Woolsey grow from a by-the-book civilian outsider of the Stargate program to the final leader of Atlantis, handling one crisis after another with courage and wisdom. Please join me in welcoming Robert Picardo. Now we have a party going on.
Thank you very much. It's Robert Picasso to you.
Bueno. All right. Very, very good. Well, thank you for joining us here. We're actually in the round of questions, but we'll take a step back for a minute and ask the 2 of you the same question we asked everybody else. They say that a character is born of 2 parents, the writer and the actor. So, Mom, Dad, what did you bring to your character? See, they're already ahead.
Apparently there's something good going on in the other room.
What did we bring to our characters? Oh, wow. Gosh, I think after a while, Dr. Keller's sense of humor became much more sarcastic as the writers got to know me. What do you think, Bob?
I was in I think season 5 or 6, they did an episode called Heroes that was so good, and it was 10 minutes long, that they wanted to turn it into a 2-part episode, and they needed filler material. So I was filler material. I was brought in simply to tie together clips to make it into a clip show. I came in and shot 12 pages in one day. I was a complete douchebag who was there to assign guilt for the death of the then doctor on the show, Terrell Rothery's character, who'd passed away. So I was brought in as just a kind of a military think tank asshole. And then the producers decided they liked me, and then they painted themselves in a corner. So every time they brought me back, they tried to, you know, make me a little less of a douchebag. You know, I mean, the first time you see me, I'm a douchebag. The second time, I'm a douchebag who's aware that he's a douchebag. So a self-aware douchebag is not as bad as just a douchebag. Then the next time I came back, I was a douchebag who knew he was a douchebag and was aware that let me see. I knew I was a douchebag, but I meant well. So I was a well-meaning self-aware douchebag. And then each time I had a new quality. I had a sense of humor. One time I was a coward, but I ran faster than the other people. And then ultimately, they asked me to take over. When they called and said, "Do you want to take over the expedition?" I said, "I'm a coward, a douchebag, everybody hates me, and I have no leadership experience." I sound perfect.
I think my favorite part was when you were a crazy douchebag.
I'm sorry I left out crazy douchebag.
So should we...
Now I'm a wet crazy douchebag.
We could pull the douchebag jar out now if you got a few loose dollars. You know, I'm not sure if you remember, but in that episode when you were being an ultimate douche, most of the episode, we don't know who's died. In fact, we're led to assume that Jack O'Neill has died until the very end, that it's revealed that it's Janet. So people doubly hated you.
Yes, that's right, and that's why I didn't get to work with RDA for the longest time, because he was not in that. That was a structural thing in the script. So, and I kept coming back to do the show, and I never got to work with Richard, which was kind of a drag, because we have a lot of mutual friends to gossip about. Dana Delaney in particular, I think they had dated off and on for years, and I had done China Beach with Dana, so I wanted some hot gossip. But finally, we did get to work together, and then we actually ran out of stories.
So Jennifer, you went from being basically a ship's doctor on Firefly's Kaylee, basically doctoring an engine all the time, to doctoring human beings on Stargate. So how did that change things for you?
I was just glad I didn't have to fix that ship.
It's a little scary. It's a big monster.
Mm-hmm. And then they handed me a bunch of techno babble. And on one of my first days, "Hey, I was giving you brain surgery."
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yes. I was. I wasn't super good at it, though. Because then we had to turn you into a replicator to make you live. Sorry about that. But I remember they had an actual brain surgeon there for me to emulate, which is comedy gold, because what? That doesn't make any sense. And they had this camera that was on him that I could see, and they had a camera on my hand, so I was picking up the right tools to look like I was actually doing brain surgery. Yeah, and also, I mean, that was very difficult, but also he was a very handsome brain surgeon, so it was super distracting. Just like a really weird first day at work. That's all I got.
So we'll ask this question to the two of you that we've asked everybody else. If you could have been any other character on Stargate, who would you have been?
You can take my out on that if you want.
What was your out?
Which is that. Well, never mind.
Never helpful.
No?
For me, I would say Taylor, only because she got to be really cool and wear cool outfits and be super badass, and I really someday would like that. It's probably not gonna happen.
You
but
were a medical badass, though. You saved a few
Okay.
people's lives.
Yes.
You're definitely a medical badass.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Absolutely.
She was like little Doogie Dr. Keller Hauser. She's like 5 years old and you know, the head of the medical team. I don't know what was happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Taylor. So Robert?
I'm going to have to say Jason's character.
Ronan.
Yeah, Ronan, because I usually play very verbal characters and not very physical characters, but I'd only want to do it if I were given his body for the duration of the show. And I think my wife would be entirely okay with that.
You know, the funny thing is, before you guys joined us, when we were talking about Stargate SG-1, everybody in unison, when asked that question, said Teague. So obviously there's something about the big, strong alien guy who can kick ass. And he's not a douche.
And doesn't have any lines. I mean, you know.
Exactly.
You just get to show up.
Yeah.
You know, there is a picture floating around where I'm wearing Jason's wig. Have you ever seen that?
No.
And it was just one of the last days of shooting. He had his wig in his hand, and we put it on me, and he's standing next to me. It's very funny. Someone brought it up for me to sign, but it's out there, and I look pretty funny.
Actually, you know, Robert, speaking of pictures,
Uh-oh, God.
you know, we met for the first time in Paris. Remember this at all?
Yes, now you're going to embarrass me.
And
There
I have
will always be Paris.
I have a photo of us, and I wanted to see if you remember this photo.
Oh my God.
Can I see it, Alex?
It's the two-headed monster.
Are you serious?
I did, but it's very cute.
He was doing his photo op shoot, and I just met the man, and I decided to run into his arms and jump into his arms, and he's carrying me, and I'm just like, and he's got this look of horror on his face.
Oh my God.
I've forgotten it, but I'm happy to see it.
So at some point this weekend, I'd like to ask you for a favor. I want to do the reverse of this.
You want to pick me up?
All right,
I'd
now,
like to
pull
complete
out the cameras,
the
please.
scene.
Guys, now you got a big stage. Go for it.
Well, but they will be hidden behind here, though.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
we'll have to. This is.
We'll do it in
Now, the water's fine.
That's up to you. Can you handle it?
Come on.
All right. Let's go down there.
As they warm up, we're going to wrap up for two of our wonderful actors today. Please give a big round of thanks to John Lancie and Marcia Teague. Thank you for joining us.
I have to leave now? I have
No,
so much
you
to
can
tell
stay.
you.
Come and stay. You're welcome to stay, but thank you guys so much. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Where are they?
You want me to take a picture for you?
You're very excited. Very excited.
That was totally unfair because I've gained about 10 pounds since we took that shot.
There's a little ad lib for you.
But now I got it.
There's a little ad lib. All right. So, speaking of ad lib, was there much ad libbing on the Atlanta set? I mean, SG1 was notorious for it.
Oh, really?
Notorious. Like scripts thrown across the frame in final edited episodes.
Oh, you mean goofing off or ad-libbing?
Ad libbing, yes.
Well,
I think maybe because of SG1, we weren't allowed to at all.
Oh no.
I felt that they were pretty, I mean, you know, they always had a very open door that you could go to them and say, I want to talk to you about this scene. I don't understand where this line comes from or something. But they didn't like if you changed it up in the moment too much. My experience.
Yeah, we really spoiled it for you guys.
You guys ruined all of our fun.
I don't remember any ad-libbing at all.
I remember one episode where I asked if I had an idea for a running joke. I was showing off for a woman that Woolsey was supposedly becoming infatuated with, and I was showing off the bridge, and I couldn't remember the name of the people that worked for me. I couldn't remember Chuck's name. So they let me ad lib around that, which I thought was funny, because we were repeating a moment where I didn't know his name, and then I said, in the next scene I came in, I went, "Hello, you," which I thought was funny because I still didn't have it, and they let me do that. But I came from an environment on Star Trek where we couldn't change a comma. You couldn't add a word. If you wanted to be spontaneous, you had to do it 5 days in advance. And you had to phone your spontaneous suggestion in, and it went up the chain of command, and it was either written into the script or not. That was it. That was spontaneity in Star Trek. So to me, Stargate seemed so incredibly loose and easygoing because I'd come from that environment. So I found it, really freeing. But I don't know, the other guys who were used to SG-1, which was freeing, I guess, to the point of ridiculous. Maybe it was less freeing on Atlantis.
So, Tori, I have a question for you. You talked a bit in the last hour about your character, but given the possibilities of what lied ahead for Elizabeth when she had become a replicator, how do you think you would have fine-tuned your character as a replicator searching to regain her humanity? You pretend that you are in charge of writing the story. Where would you have taken Elizabeth?
Well, I got very excited. Oh.
Tweeting it.
It's gone viral, people. It's gone viral.
Hashtag. There we go. All right, everybody. There we go.
Awesome. I got very excited when they made her a leather suit.
Yes. Good. Cool.
I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm up for it. I was now on a ship with a bunch of, battery-operated machines, kind of, in a leather suit. I thought it could get really racy. It's much more fun. I always say that I always get typecast as these very sort of, usually sort of educated, which is shocking because I'm so not smart. And they're very, upper class and very good hearts and like good people. You like them, nice, good people. But as an actor, it's way more fun to play people that are a little bit crazy or a bit evil or a bit messed up, or you have sort of stronger conflicts to grapple with. So I was sort of hoping she might turn into a kind of evil weir replicator. I thought that would have been a lot of fun. Because I figured that it was kind of, I'd gone past, you either want to do Ascension and go, if you're going to be good, go all the way good. But if you can't do that, and as a replicator, I didn't think that was going to be a possible thing, really. So I was all for the evil weir.
The complex character, always more interesting. Let's take some questions from everybody who's here to see you guys. Yes.
Look at that eager guy. Did you say evil guy?
Eager.
Eager.
Like,
Can you say your name first? And we don't have a microphone, do we? That would be
We have
awesome.
an extra microphone. Will it work out?
Well, we have a microphone here that they'll bring out, but pretend you're on a stage and
You're really angry with us.
microphone.
Don't make me get up from this
pretend
chair.
you're on a stage.
Pretend someone's stealing your car at the other end of the parking lot.
Yes.
I love the scarf.
Sorry?
He loves the scarf.
He likes
The scarf.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of forgot the question.
He really likes your scarf.
Was Stargate created as a cover for a real government Stargate program? And if yes, was Wormhole Extreme, the episode, a cover for the cover?
Yes.
We would really not have to murder everyone in this room.
Sorry.
And we will, after this is over, raise the light, flash it, and you will forget this whole entire thing. Yes.
That was
Next question.
Hell of a first question.
I understand. So what projects have you been up to?
Well, Sedge is my dog. I've been walking her a lot. It's a project. Aw, thank you. I thought it was funny too. Sweet head. I've actually taken the last year and a half, I've had a sort of a sabbatical, and I've been working much more on writing and wearing a producer's hat. So I've got 2 projects that I'm working on, and it's, you know, brand new hats for me, so it's a huge learning curve, and yeah, it's probably going to be about a year before I find out if anybody loves them as much as I love them, but I really love these projects, and I'm hoping that something comes out of them. And next week when I go back to Toronto, I've been in Toronto the last year, so I'm missing my home in Los Angeles, but I start rehearsals on a play. So that's exciting. I'm a bit nervous because it's a one-person play, which when I was first asked to do it, I said, no way, they're masturbatory and awful. And then I realized, well, it's kind of the only acting gig I've been offered for a while, so it's a bit rude for me to say no. And I also realized it scared the pants off me, and there's that old adage that if it doesn't scare you, it's not worth doing. So I figure it's a good way to get some acting muscles back to the gym.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned Toronto, and Vancouver, of course, is where all the Stargate shows were shot. Early in my career in the television and film industry as a writer and producer, Toronto was the hot place. And then suddenly Vancouver became the hot place, and now Vancouver is a ghost town.
Not anymore?
No, as of last year, it's gotten
picked
back up again.
It's very cyclical.
It's very cyclical, because Toronto now is Warehouse 13 is shot there,
Yes.
a few other shows are shot there.
But it's coming to an end. Warehouse is wrapping
Yep,
up, and there's,
it
I
is.
think, 5 or 6 new shows starting up in Vancouver
In
now.
Vancouver, that's
So
great.
it's all starting to move back home, y'all.
Do you have an extra,
Oh.
do you have a spare room? I could maybe
I
come.
actually do, Tori.
Really?
Yes, I do. And it has your name on it.
Questions? Back there. With the Stargate Atlantis uniform.
Yeah, girl.
My question's actually for Jewel. I'm a fan of both Atlantis and Firefly.
What's Firefly?
Shiny.
Just joking.
And so my question would be, between Simon Tam and Rodney McKay, who do you think would be
Wait a minute.
who would be the better boyfriend and why?
Oh. That's a really good question. Who would be the better boyfriend? Huh.
Can I just dive in? I don't know the other character, but I'm going to go with him.
That was good. I liked that one. Yeah, you know, Rodney's a little high maintenance. And then Simon has this whole weird obsession with his sister, which is a bit odd. Like, he's super overprotective and they're really close.
It's a bit creepy.
Bit weird. Yeah, you know, that's funny because I'd never thought about the similarities between those two, in that they're a little self-involved. They are, and they both they have their bubble going on where they're unaware of what their words and their actions are doing to other people on the outside. Having said that, I would almost say, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think Rodney has a bit more game. He does. Like, Rodney and Simon are both super smart, but Rodney's kind of funny, and Simon just says the stupidest shit. You know, like, everything that comes out of his mouth, you're like, dude, no, why did you just say that? Although he's so beautiful. I mean, his skin is so nice, he looks like a mannequin. Even in person, like, he really does. If you all have met, has anybody met Sean Marr? Yeah, he smells good, he looks good. All the good ones are gay.
All right, so on the subject of ships, and we've done a round of this earlier, and I did prepare another round just for you Atlantis folks.
Uh-oh.
I'm sure you're familiar with the gazillion fan fictions that are out there, the several dozen novels that are out there. And the images floating around in the realm of shipping when two characters should be together. So let's take another look at some of the images. I literally just found these online. Let's see.
Wow.
Next slide, please. Next slide. Here we go. Well, John and Elizabeth belong together. That is a huge opinion of mine, of course. That was an ongoing thing. Poor John Shepard, poor man. Next slide up. Now, we forgot about Ronan. You asked about Rodney, and you asked about Simon, but let's talk about Ronan for a second there.
Well,
How's your Dothraki language?
Jason's one of these guys. I'm sure this happens to us girls. Jason will storm into your photo session and scoop you up and he thinks he's He-Man and he'll knock everything down. He's like a big Great Dane puppy. Just knocks everything down. But he was a physical thing for her, and she's an intellectual girl, so it would make more sense for her to be with McKay in the end. If you're asking me, it's a different answer, but.
Next slide up, please. Now, I found this, Richard, just yesterday on Stargate Conventions. Clearly, you also have those who just ship you with them. But then there's always these people, too. Next slide, please. Were you aware of these fans?
I don't understand what this means.
When somebody ships somebody, it means that they want to see them together. A relationship. Ship is internet shorthand for.
I see.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I would not have thought of that one myself. I think, frankly, he didn't speak loud enough for Woolsey. Because, he was very quiet, and I think Woolsey would have demanded someone who just made more noise, especially if they were engaged in the act you're suggesting. He would want a lot of volume. He wouldn't want a low moan.
It's not the most compatible couple.
Woolsey's probably getting to the age where it's a little hard of hearing anyway. So I frankly don't see it, and I don't even.
Apparently somebody does.
Don't even find it flattering. Sorry.
All right, so let's break things up a little. We're going to do a little bit more of the T-shirt contest with some Stargate Atlantis questions.
And with that, I will take my
Yes,
leave.
Alexis, hey, thank you so very much. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay. You sort of gave that one away, but hopefully you got short memories. Sort of gave that one away, but
I don't know. Oh, really?
Oh, it's on the back.
yes, it's on the back. We'll start with Robert at the end. You know the drill. You want to win a Gay World T-shirt? Let's see if you can answer these trivia questions, starting with
Robert. And
Robert.
I actually, this is not like Jeopardy where they have to guess the question.
No, they have to guess the answer, which is on the back of your
So
card.
all I have to do is read the question?
Yes!
I can do this.
And then pick somebody from the audience to answer it.
This is something I can do. Oh. This is something I can't do. And
All right, guys, it's Stargate. We're honorable people if you saw the answer.
Okay.
We got two other questions. So.
Are the answers on the back?
Yeah.
Nobody told me. Did you tell me that? They told me that. Okay, what planet did Woolsey first visit off-world? If you need a hint, he ran from danger faster than anyone else on this planet.
We can give you another hint. We can tell you the episode. It's in SG-1, season 9. Ding, ding, ding.
It was
Ringing
a
any
crossover.
bells? The Scourge was the name of the episode. Yes, but what was the planet's designation? Close, but no cigar.
Wait a minute, give him another second, that's it? It's going to be over?
No, we got some more folks down here. We have a lady down here.
The Gamacite?
Oh,
They both
We had
at the
two.
same time.
Get the scissors,
I
cut
got
the
two
t-shirt.
shirts up. Here we go.
You both were right simultaneously.
The gentleman back there, and here, no, this one, get this to this lady, and if you'll bring that to the guy back there. There we go, with his hand raised.
I think the fix was in
Zach?
on that.
All right, that's cool. Moving along.
Okay.
Next up.
Who was Dr. Keller's first patient on Atlantis?
Can you pick some?
Figuring it.
Pick someone from the right. You lovely lady in the red. Dr. Weir is correct.
Right. Sort of a gimme, but that's okay. High-stressed episode for Dr. Keller, absolutely.
Yeah, not at all for Weir.
No, not at all. Did they put you in a ball cap for that, or?
No, I almost looked like I had an African headdress, right? Because they just wrapped my hair as it was underneath this white. So I had this, I guess it looked like I had a swollen head.
I remember there was a lady too that they brought in. This poor lady, I guess they were like, want to be on TV? And she was like, yeah. And they were like, we're going to shave your head. And quite literally laid there while they buzzed her head. And it was a photo double for your head. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
It's a cruel business.
Yes.
Head double.
Cruel and unkind.
Skull double. Okay.
That reminds me, I got to tell this quick story. This job I did years ago, shooting in South Africa, of all places, and I had this long monologue I had to say to my dead mother who was in the casket during the funeral, and I was angry with her, and it was this really emotional thing. And this woman was hired to play the dead mother, and all she'd do was lie there and be dead while I did this really long emotional monologue to her. First take, we're about 5 minutes into this crazy monologue, and she just sits up and calls cut. Right? And everyone's like, what? You're not allowed to call cut. She goes, I'm sorry, I had to swallow. Okay, carry on. And she did it 2 more times. She just sat up in the middle of me talking. Yeah. I think she was upset that she had to be dead and she wanted to be seen. And she was hoping by sitting up she might sneak into the show somehow. I'm not sure it was going to. But that reminded me of it.
Mom, you're back.
Bless her heart, right? You're healed.
Risen from the dead.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, my question is, which we might have already answered, but I can up the ante.
Good.
What was the name of Dr. Weir's dog left behind on Earth?
And how do you up the ante there?
Well, people know she's got a very long name in real life, so I can ask you to try to name the full one. Sedgwick, yes. Okay, for 2 t-shirts, anybody know the full name? Sorry? Her full name is Paloma Sedgwick Norma Jean Sadie Street, but I call her Chicken. Very good, I didn't have a child.
Okay. All right, great. Well, listen, we're going to wrap soon because we kind of rearranged things a little bit to make sure that there's time to turn over for the masquerade ball, which is going to be pretty wild from what we've seen in the hallways. So, last round of questions for our wonderful Stargate Atlantis actors.
What about that? Can we pick on that man over there because he raised his hand first?
Hi, my name's Mark. I noticed in the series, especially on Atlantis, they killed off characters a lot more. Was there a reason?
They didn't like us very much.
I thought so.
Well, we did. We did.
I have a theory about it, but you've got to get me drunk before I share it.
Okay, next question.
Let's just say quickly, I think there's something sort of exciting about, it really shakes up the audience, and I think they understood that too. And when they lost Rainbow, there was a huge reaction. They lost Beckett, and there was, and it just, it's more common to happen nowadays, I think, and it is still, but it's shocking to the audience.
Winter is coming. Next question. Yes?
As far as your work goes, is sci-fi your genre of preference, or what do you feel about doing a sci-fi show?
Robert, Jim?
Well, first of all, sci-fi has the most loyal fans in the world, so that's what makes, I haven't gone to any China Beach conventions, I can tell you that. Although people constantly come to me and say, I love that show. I say, where you been? But I would never have placed me in science fiction. I remember when I read the Star Trek script, I threw it on the ground and said to my wife, they're never going to put me in a Star Trek show. So clearly, I didn't know that I was well suited to it. I simply thought that because I didn't know the genre at the time when I went to audition, that I wouldn't sort of fit in. But now that I understand what it is about the storytelling, I think that appeals to people so much, and I have been in a number of different science fiction series and also movies and such, although some of them are pretty bad, as you all know. I enjoy working in the genre. I like the fact that you can, that the stakes are heightened, that you can take, especially on Star Trek, because it's set in the future, you can take a story and kind of pare away all of whatever the contemporary issues surrounding that story are and really examine the essential element, the kernel of what it's about. So there are all sorts of things science fiction does that I really enjoy working for. Whatever the appropriate preposition was.
Jennifer?
I agree. Me too. I feel the same way. I'm also just attracted to things that are written really well and that are very interesting to play. And there are a lot of very interesting female characters to play in sci-fi, thankfully. But yeah, you guys are really loyal, and that helps a lot. We were talking about this last night, weren't we? We were saying, man, we'd really like to do another sci-fi show again, because it's been a while for both of us. And I've done other things in between, and that's fun too, and all that. But there's something cool about still being accepted within the group. You know what I mean? Our weird little group here that we have. We like to please you people. So I would love to do something sci-fi related, something really great and interesting and well written, and yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Tori?
Yeah, and for me it was a huge learning curve. I initially was kind of a snob about sci-fi. I was saying this the other day in my Q&A that I came out of theater school and I'd studied in England. I was going to do Shakespeare on the stage, and I was going to, and television was a sellout, and sci-fi, I was like, oh, that's just, and so I had this real judgment about it without even recognizing that I love novels. There's certain books and writers that I've been reading for years that I loved, and I just sort of separated what I love from sci-fi, even though a lot of it was sci-fi. Stargate made me, I did a show called Tech War with William Shatner, and that was like one of my first gigs out of theater school, and I kind of walked into that going, oh, I don't want to be doing this, I should be doing Shakespeare. Now I feel if Shakespeare was around today, he'd probably be writing for sci-fi. I think he would, because it's a genre that allows you to explore really big ideas and political ideas and religious ideas, and allows you to explore it without stepping on anybody's toes. Even though he didn't mind stepping on people's toes, I think he would have chosen it. And it's also such a popular culture, such an access to people, and those were things that I felt he was doing, 400 years ago. So yeah, I had a huge learning curve, and I also realized that it's a huge leap of faith and a huge leap of imagination, which is a great muscle to get worked out as an actor. So when I left Atlantis, at first I thought, oh, I shouldn't do sci-fi for a while. And that's exactly what we were saying last night. I'm like, I would die to do some more sci-fi. I miss it. I miss the genre, and I miss feeding this world, because it is remarkable what you guys give us. This is so symbiotic. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
We get so much from you. I mean, I believe every single person on the planet should have at least one day a year that people surround them and tell them they appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
It's pretty magical. So thank you.
All right, one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. This gentleman over here, with the glasses. Yes, you. Oh, sorry. Yes, no, you're giving it to the right one.
Which do you think are scarier, the Wraith or the Ori?
The Wraith or the Ori? Who is scarier?
The Borg.
Yeah. The word, the replicators, similar to the Borg. It was all about assimilate, and in the case of the replicators, they just would tear you apart to use you all over again. So replicators were kind of similar. And the human ones, having a face to that whole drive to assimilate, was pretty scary. Especially when it had her face.
I was just taking a cheap shot, that's all.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. We want to keep things on time to get ready for the big masquerade. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brother Picardo, it's your stage.
Sorry that you got so weird for you.
No.
You handled it so beautifully.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you.